Flood victims who were evicted from an empty Transnet building are challenging their removal in court. They're among those whose homes were swept away in this year's deadly floods. The movement, Umsinsi Wokuzimelela, has been helping the victims by providing support and getting lawyers involved. They're going head-to-head in court with Transnet today over the eviction from Montclair Lodge today. eNCA reporter Lethiwe Mdluli is following the story and joins us now for an update. Lethiwe, can you tell us what's been the outcome in court today?
Well, some very good news for the flood victims as they've won this round. The court has decided that they can go back to the lodge up until those discussions between government, and if government has plans, then they will be moved to safer housing. You'd remember that the victims have been fighting for a safe place to live. They are saying that the shelters that they've been given, or the shelters that they're living in currently, are overcrowded, they're not safe, and they wanted government to make a plan, which forced them for last month, rather, for them to then occupy this building, which was empty at the time. They occupied it illegally, but then Transnet went to court trying to evict them. Last week, or rather on Monday this week, they were evicted, and they've been fighting this. Of course, there's a lawyer involved now, and the movement Umsinzi has been helping the victims. Today, they did say that in court, the outcome was that they'll be able to then go back. Majority of those people who will be going back to the building are women and children until there's a proper plan in place, and also until the court matters are done. While speaking to the lawyer that was representing the flood victims earlier on, Mbali Kubega, this is what she had to say.
I received instructions that my clients have now no other alternative. The living conditions for the occupants in the halls are so inhumane that now basically they are now taking them to Montclair Hall. When I received the instructions, I immediately also rushed to the hall because, you know, this organization is trying to do things in a different manner. They are trying to show the people that we are fighting for you, but we are also respecting the law. I arrived there, I spoke to a representative from Transnet. So from the get-go, the organization and ourselves have been amicable to actually having some form of discussions and settlements. We then engaged counsel. We've started with talks. Undertakings were made, some much were not done, to the point whereby we then received this application for an interim order that the occupants must be evicted from the premises. We then opposed that in motion, which was denied here in this High Court. On that same day, we then raised our grievances straight to the Constitutional Court, where we made an application granting leave to appeal so that anything else transpiring after that, we are able to hold. But our main priority was that the occupants remained in occupation. So all of that has transpired back and forth, I think, for the past 2 weeks, with Umsinzi assisting us greatly. Until we have received the dates today, whereby now we are then informed that Transnet and the departments are now wanting to sit down and actually negotiate a way forward. Today, it was adjourned sine die, which means we do not have a return date as yet because we do have a pending matter in the Constitutional Court. Because we also want to set an example whereby flood victims should never have to go what these flood victims went through. Yeah. Flood victims should not ever have to think that the courts will not protect them. The court is meant to protect them. Yeah. So we're still awaiting that outcome from the Constitutional Court judgment. But as it is, these victims will be able to go back to the lodge, mainly the mothers and the children, and be able to get shelter while we're still resolving all these matters in litigation.
Lethiwe, great news for these flood victims, but it's only a temporary reprieve. What's the way forward for them in the long term?
Well, unfortunately, there is no way forward. Basically, what the victims now are waiting for is a plan from government as to when they'll be moved to temporary housing units. These units were promised back in April, and it's been 4 months of them living in the shelters without any proper answers. And it looks like for now, there is no proper plan in place. There's over 6,000 people residing in these shelters across Durban as we speak. And so far, only 800 temporary housing units have been built in the past 4 months. And yesterday, from the committee that was sitting in Parliament yesterday, we heard from the Department of Social Development that KZN, the KZN government rather, and Lethiwe municipality are planning to shut down or close down these shelters in December. but that has been said without a proper plan as to when these people will be moved. So for now, those mothers and children from various shelters who found retrieve in the Transnet building will be able to live there until these matters in court are finalized. But unfortunately, they don't have a plan as to what's going to happen in future, especially next year once the shelters are closed in December.
Were you able to speak to some of the flood victims present at court today, and what did they have to say about not only their living conditions, the eviction from Transnet, and how they're feeling at the moment?
Throughout the course of this week, I've been speaking to the flood victims. I caught up with them in court today. They were there in numbers. And firstly, we spoke before the courts actually started, and they were saying that they are hoping that the lawyers will be able to get a great outcome. And of course, that outcome was great. And speaking to them after hearing the news, they were very happy. And they were saying that for now, this temporary arrangement works for them because they will have privacy, they will feel safe, and they will have electricity and running water in that building. They are saying that they are worried, though, whether there is going to be a plan that is formulated by government and the municipality here in eThekwini moving forward, because it means that once the court matters are finalized, they can be evicted legally. And they are saying that they hope government by December will have a plan in place as to when they will be moved and if they will be moving to proper homes that they were promised back in April.
Well, thank you so much, Lethiwe Mdluli, coming to us from eThekwini, bringing us that story.